What's going on, everybody? Josh McCarty from Bills Chat as I try to get my mic set up right. Here for the Bills Chat halftime show as the Bills are trailing the Baltimore Ravens by a score of 21-3. The score is not the story of this game. The score is pretty irrelevant at this point. The story of this game is just how big of a mismatch it has been on both sides of the ball. The defense has no idea how to stop the run. And I think a lot of us could have seen that coming with the injuries that were piling up on the Bills defense, particularly where those injuries were when you're talking about your two starting linebackers and your nickel corner, two of those guys being all pros, one being the team captain. The Bills, the first few weeks, were able to really overcome those injuries because they were playing teams that tried to attack you on the boundary. That's where the Bills are still strong at with their cornerbacks. Tonight, very much getting attacked right up the middle. And really that first run by Derrick Henry set the tone for the game because since that point, the defense has been overcompensating. You give up a big run like that, and you start to see guys in the front seven just playing forward, trying not to let that happen again. And that's why you're seeing these long completions by the Ravens where guys are just wide open, uncovered down the field. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. The Bills got kind of lucky near the end of the first half with the fumble by Lamar. I'm taking my glasses off because that glare is bothering me. And but they weren't able to capitalize. And just to add frustration to it, Keon Coleman gets a perfectly thrown ball that hits him in the hands. It's a jump ball, but he can't come down with it. And that's just kind of been the story of the game, where plays are there to be made really on both sides. Kincaid drops a ball on the first drive of the game that leads to a very, very questionable punt by McDermott, one of multiple questionable punts by McDermott in the first half. Let's check out chat. Let's see what's going on in chat. Our guy Stokes. It looks like Josh can't trust what's going on in the coverage. He's looking incredibly hesitant. Yeah. So we talked about on our preview for this game that the Ravens secondary had been struggling, and we know the names out there, Marcus Williams, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, that you figure they're probably going to be fine. But they had been struggling, and some of that could just be game script dependent where they're up big early. Hey, look, they're up big early again. And they end up, giving up those leads, in some cases losing the lead, like it happened against the Raiders. And then in the Dallas game, almost losing the lead. So that, can be some garbage time stats piling up, but statistically their defense has not been good against the pass. What I think is most interesting about the Bills offense tonight, though, is you're in a situation where it shouldn't take you too long to realize that the Bills don't have a lot of answers right now for what the Ravens have on defense. The combination of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are just too much for this Bills defense to handle with as shorthanded as they are up the middle, and they are very much losing the line of scrimmage. Now, much like we saw in the first half of the Arizona Cardinals game, what you're seeing from the Bills pass rushers tonight is much more of a controlled pass rush. They are not attacking the quarterback. They are very much trying to keep him in the pocket, and that is what is leading to this very long time where it seems like Lamar could take his phone out and send a text before throwing the ball in the pocket. And at halftime against the Cardinals, the Bills changed that up and they went after Kyler Murray. I would expect more of that tonight, although at some point the Ravens are just going to feel like they can probably just run to victory. But offensively, the punts, Sean McDermott, your defense isn't stopping anybody. It's 4th and 2 on the first drive. You already went for a 4th and 1 and got it, and you punt. I mean, you have a chance to go up early, set the tone. Instead, you punt. And then the next drive, 4th and 1 at midfield, you punt. And then the very next play, they're back at midfield. I don't know that McDermott is feeling this game right now. I don't think he understands just how up against it his defense is. Let's see what's going on. Roy Collins, Bills D getting embarrassed. Offense looks inept. Look, the Bills D is getting embarrassed, but we have to cut them some slack. They're down 2 all-pros and the team captain, arguably their 3 best players. This is a situation where they need their offense to carry them. Their offense is fully healthy. Everybody the Bills wanted to have on offense this year is out there for them. And they have 3 points to show for it. And it's been sloppy, but I think the coaching hasn't done them any favors. And, maybe you go for those and you don't get them and the score is worse. But at some point in time, when the game is tilting away from you, you have to lean into something. Lean into that quarterback you have, Josh Allen. Let him try to make a play for you. See what he can do. The McChronicle, I've noticed Dalton Kincaid going into the backfield on third down pass protection. He should be our leading receiver. I did not understand there. I forget what play it was, McChronicle, but I believe it was a third down where Kincaid was in the backfield to block when you needed a catch. Like, Kincaid has to be out there on a route at that point in time. Even if he's not your primary receiver, he's going to draw coverage. I did not understand that at all. Justin, why does it seem like McDermott always loses his guts against good teams? We should have gone for it on fourth down a couple times. I've seen this a lot. I'm not going to pick on you, Justin. I think that's probably a bridge too far. McDermott historically is one of the more aggressive coaches in the sport. I know we all have PTSD from the 2020 AFC Championship game, the COVID year in Arrowhead, where he took short field goals and the Bills couldn't keep up with the Chiefs and they got blown out. But I think when you look at his career as a whole, he is a pretty aggressive player. And I don't think that that's necessarily a situation where he picks on bad teams and then against good teams he freezes up. He's got a winning record against the Ravens. He has a winning record against the Chiefs in the regular season. They haven't lost to the Chiefs in the regular season since 2020. They have a 3-game winning streak against them. So let's keep it all in context. Like, this is a September football game. It stinks what's going on right now. It absolutely does. But to me, like, I wouldn't read into this as like McDermott is going into his shell. I'd be careful against that. Costa with a good point. Need more James Cook. I thought coming into this game that the Bills would be running their head into a brick wall, handing the ball to James Cook, but they've actually had some success early. What's frustrating to me is on first down, they'll get 8 yards, and then it'll be 2nd and 2. And they'll just run right up the middle again into a brick wall, and now it's 3rd and 2. And they've done that 3 times in this game. 2nd and 2 needs to be a shot play. 2nd and 2 is a chance to really take advantage of a defense that's playing forward. And the Bills under Joe Brady, my one criticism of him this year has been 2nd and short has been trying to get the first down instead of trying to take a shot. I really hope that changes as the year goes on. Important to keep in mind, though, it is September. But I agree with Costa. I think James Cook looks good. And I actually echo what Chris Collinsworth has been saying on the broadcast, that he looks much more patient this year. At some point in time, James Cook's going to become irrelevant in this game, except as a pass catcher, because the Bills are just going to have to throw. Kyle Borchert reminds me of the London game last year. Dorsey short pass flats, injuries, flags piling up. No one on D wants to tackle. It does kind of feel like the London game. It really does. I will say this. When you came into this week looking at the Bills' schedule, this was probably the hardest game they had left. I mean, there's some hard games. Next week, they're in Houston, for crying out loud. And then they go to the Jets, who lost today. And then they have to play the Chiefs at some point. The Niners are going to come here. They're in Detroit. But like at Baltimore, under the lights of Sunday Night Football, was probably the toughest one left. So losing to the Ravens doesn't have to be a bad thing. Is it less than ideal? Yeah, it's always more fun to win than lose, obviously. But losing a September game to the Ravens, that's just kind of like, okay, fine. Like, that's the story of the season. This team wasn't going to go undefeated. It's how they're losing right now. They aren't standing up for themselves and showing any fight. And that's what's disappointing, both defensively and offensively. And I need the offense to figure this out, because they are the fully formed unit right now. And the Bills defense is the one that's trotting out names like Cam Lewis, Balin Spector, and Dorian Williams. Roy Collins, considering that Ravens O-line is banged up, they don't seem to have any problems holding up. Yeah, I think the Bills right now are playing so scared of Lamar and Derrick Henry, they just don't want to rush the passer and leave open lanes. That's going to have to change in the second half. You have to do something. What they're doing right now is letting Lamar stand in the pocket, and he seems like he is just standing there for 10 seconds, and then he throws to a wide open Zay Flowers. It's infuriating. Are wide receivers just not getting open? It seems like there's instant pressure within 1 to 2 seconds, or Allen goes through all his reads and doesn't see anything. I think the Ravens have had sticky coverage tonight. It's always tough to tell without looking at the all-22, but even that route to Shakir over the middle where Humphrey knocked it loose, that was a great play by Humphrey. It seemed like Shakir kind of rounded out his little route there. Should have flattened it out on that crossing route a little more. It allowed Humphrey to recover and knock it out. Coleman, I don't know if he was open on that deep ball, but Josh Allen threw him open, hit him in the hands. And then you have to love the defensive back who the ball hits Keon Coleman in the hands. The defensive back does nothing to knock it up. And the defensive back goes with the whole celebration. Like, it is what it is. Like, I get it. It's Sunday Night Football. Pretend like you made a play. Chat coaches can get confused and have off games. It is what it is. Like, relax, for goodness sake. I think that's the largest point, though, right? Like, it's week 4. If the Bills lose this game, if the Bills lose this game, they're going to be 3-1. Okay. When you look at the injuries this Bills team came into the season with, and then with injuries that have piled up since the season started, we all would have signed for 3-1. And I do think it's revisionist history to pretend like the Bills haven't beaten a good team. We all thought Miami was a good team. Tua got injured with like 2 drives to go in that game, and the Bills were shutting down the Tua Dolphins. So it's revisionist history to pretend like the Dolphins are now some slappy team that just is like at the same level as what we thought the Cardinals were and what the Jaguars looked like. I think when it's all said and done, the Jaguars are not going to be a bottom 5 team in the league. I think they're going to be, 20th or so. I think the Cardinals are going to be right there, middle of the pack. They had a tough loss today. And the Dolphins, it just depends when they get Tua back. If they don't get Tua back and they have to throw out, Tyler Huntley or Skylar Thompson every week, well, it's never going to matter for them. But the Bills didn't play Tyler Huntley and Skylar Thompson. They played Tua. So I think acting like the Bills haven't played anybody is just, I think it's letting what you want your point to be controlled by something that's not factually true. Rami, what's the point of a defensive-minded head coach without a defense? Not like he wasn't schooled by Henry in the play action when he was with the Titans. Offense looks anemic. Too many run plays with Cook, as usual. No screens. Too many run plays with Cook. Cook has 5 attempts. Josh Allen has 16 attempts passing. I hear your frustration, but I don't necessarily agree that it's too many run plays with Cook. Henry's had success against the Bills. I see Twitter being like, why does Derrick Henry own us? Like, well, why does Derrick Henry always beat us? This is not like Stephen Ridley getting 100 yards against the Bills. Derrick Henry is going to be in the Hall of Fame, folks. Like, Derrick Henry having good games against you is not something to be embarrassed about or to act like, why do we let this happen? He's posterized a lot of teams in his career. And he's got maybe the most athletic quarterback we've ever seen handing him the ball, which is throwing off this defense that's already really undermanned up front. I think in a lot of ways, we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't see the defense looking like butter trying to stop a hot knife. But I do think that the way this matchup was and the way the Bills are hurt, this should have been a little bit more predictable. Delay blitz, they're going to have to do something. Delay blitzes can certainly work. Ramp up the pressure. I mean, at this point, the Bills are going to have to guess. Like, are they passing? Cool, it's blitz. What's the worst that happens? They score another touchdown. Oh, well, like, whether you lose 70-0 or 40-0 or 21-3, it's all the same in the standings. Justin says, really need to see some fight in this team. And they're going to fight. Like, this is not a team. I don't think, I forget what the stat was. I think it's the Titans game during the COVID year it's the Colts game in 2021, the Carson Wentz game. That's the last time that's the last time the Bills have lost by multiple scores. This is a team that historically fights. They might just be undermanned in this fight tonight, and they might not be able to. It may not be a matter of will. It could be a matter of skill. Terrell Bernard, Taron Johnson, and Matt Milano standing on the sideline. The one thing I'll tell all of you is that they're all expected to be back by the playoffs. So, there's going to be more injuries as the season goes on. Taron Johnson and Terrell Bernard should be back very shortly. Terrell Bernard practiced last week. That's fantastic news. I think there's a good shot he's back for the Houston game next week. Taron Johnson not practicing, a little bit more concerning maybe. But, it seems like they might both be getting close, and they could get these guys back very, very soon. Costa, a lot of doom and gloom Bills fans in one bad half. Costa, you should log into Bills Chat Twitter account and see the timeline, my guy. It is amazing. You know how it goes, though. Like, it's an emotional thing. Fans get emotional. I get emotional, but we have to keep it in perspective. We're a 3-1 football team. We have arguably the best player in the sport on our team. The defense is having a rough night, and the offense is having a tough night too. It happens. The good teams find a way to not let one loss become 2, 3, and 4. And maybe the Bills do what the Cowboys and the Raiders did and claw their way back into this game and make it interesting down the stretch. That would certainly be something to see. All right. So here's what's coming up on Bills Chat. Luca and I are going to be recording a post-game show basically the second this game ends, and that'll be available to you all wherever your podcast can be found, Spotify, Apple. It'll be on YouTube if you want to see our faces, breaking down everything that happened in this game. Stokes and I will be back next week breaking down our predictions for Bills Texans, and I will be back next week for halftime of Bills Texans. Hopefully it's a much happier halftime. Hopefully things are going a little bit better. I imagine it will. I have a feeling the Bills are going to do something in the second half to make this game a little bit interesting. I'm not ready to say they're going to come back and win it, but I think there will be at least a little bit of like, So let's see here. And Stokes is saying delay blitz, first play of the second half. Well, that's my cue to get out of here. And I appreciate you all watching. I'll see you guys on the next edition of Bills Chat Halftime Show.